Welcome to the local concerns meeting for the US 3 Wire Road Intersection Safety Improvement Project. My name is Kyle Fox. I'm the Public Works Director. I'll be kicking off the meeting. So really quickly, what the project is we're seeking to do some safety improvements at the Wire Road and US 3 intersection itself, and some mobility improvements along the Wire Road and the US 3 corridor, basically between Baboosic Lake Road to the south and Twin Bridge Road to the north. Our project team here tonight is, we've got Don Twamala here, our town engineer. Gotta stay closer to the mic. From DOT, our project manager is Tony Punton. From Quantum Construction Consultants, who is our prime consultant. We have Jim Bouchard and Anna Giraldi here. With Beta Group, our subconsultant, we have John Byatt and Chris Turgeon. Well, we're basically running through the agenda really quickly. We're going to do kind of recap the NHDOT FHWA, which is federal highway funding format for this project. We'll give a project overview. Then we'll get into some of the specific program elements that are going to be looked at in the project, and then talk about the goals of the engineering study. And finally, we'll wrap up with a session of public comments and hear what concerns and comments the public has regarding the project. And what that will do is it'll help shape the engineering study to the point where we can come back in a month or so and present the preferred alternative for the project. With that, I'll turn it over to Jim and Anna to speak first.
Thanks, Kyle. Let me bump us up a slide or two, if it's going to work. There we go. As Kyle said, Quantum is the prime consultant for the project, and joining us is Beta. Beta is a New England-based company with a local office in Manchester, New Hampshire. John Byatt, we've had a strong relationship, known for I don't know how long anyway, but anyway, he's going back with it. But they bring strong transportation planning, and they're going to undertake the highway safety program. Now, questions up. Why is Quantum the prime consultant if Beta is going to do most of the work? We are the prime consultant for the US Route 3 bridge replacement. So this project butts into that, and so it is, we're going to explain, it kind of got married in, it got accelerated up a little bit. If I should take a few minutes to go through this project. The funding for the project started out as National Regional Planning Commission priority project. They have a dedicated source of money that they get independent of the DOTs. They have decided back in 2017 to commit some of their funding to the project. Now, how does that work? Is NRPC going to be paying for this? No, it's going to come back through the DOT. It's going to be handled just the same way, but the money has been allocated through the NRPC versus DOT taking the block grants, the money they get from their pot. It's still funded 80%. It's all federal highway money. It's still funded 80% by the federal highway, DOT, parentheses NRPC, 20% by the town of Merrimack. It was originally programmed for 2027 construction. It was accelerated to 2025. And the reason it was accelerated was, one of the reasons is the bridge project would have been the bridge replacement project would have been ending, and then you're going to start construction for this project. Didn't make a whole lot of sense. So Tony and Kyle got together. Tony's a project manager for DOT. They discussed about moving one project up. So now the construction is uniform. It's all one time frame. Everything happens. It is two different projects, but they're going to be happening at the same time. So the citizens of Merrimack and the travelers and anybody else on the highway are not going to be harassed, or if you want to call it that, or burdened with two consecutive or three construction seasons. You finish the bridge project, now you turn around, tear everything up, and start the highway safety project. It's all going to be together and in the same timelines. So kind of confusing, but that's, but you thank Kyle and Tony for pulling all this together. How does the management process work? It is it's a DOT, it's DOT functioning. It is a multi-step process. It is, as you can see by the screen, the town solicited to the NRPC. NRCPC ranked it, put it as the highest priority. It got into the DOT's 10-year plan. It got funding approval. NRPC came up with the money. Selection of a design consultant. That was the process we went through to bring Quantum onto this, and we and the town and Tony worked with Beta to bring them in as a sub-consultant to the project. So where are we now? We're at the engineering study. This is where we start to look at the whole project and what are the impacts, what needs to be done, evaluate alternatives, come up with a preferred alternative. After the engineering study, and as Kyle mentioned already, there'll be another meeting to present the engineering study when that's complete. Then it goes into preliminary plans, then it goes into final plans, then it goes to a bid phase, and then, they select a construction services firm that will be overseeing. It's another consultant engineer that will be overseeing this, and it will go into construction. So we're trying to it's multiple steps, and the design team and the town and the DOT have been through this many, many times, and it will move very smoothly. So that being said, what is the process? What is the project? At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Chris Turgeon and have him come up, because this is his baby and what he's going to be going through with you folks.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate that. So as Kyle mentioned, the project is.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kyle. Kyle mentioned that the project's from Baboosic Lake Road to the Wire Road intersection, and existing conditions in this this part of the corridor. There's operational issues at the Wire Road intersection, and those include Wire Road coming into the Route 3 portion of the intersection at an angle, creating issues with sight distance, and there's a lot of pavement in that area as well too, and that lends to higher speeds coming through that curve right off the bridge coming southbound and northbound. And if you sat at the intersection trying to turn left on the Wire Road, you know that during peak hour queue can build up due to people being hesitant to try to turn. It's kind of not a real safe condition. And we looked at accidents at Wire Road at the intersection, and there are, since 2017, there have been about 8 accidents. None of them fatal. There was one vehicle that hit a bicyclist near the Merrimack Youth Association. So some of these improvements that we're going to be looking at are going to hopefully help alleviate some of these issues. As for pedestrian facilities, there are intermittent sidewalks on the west side of Route 3, kind of going towards the library, and then it picks up again a little bit more near the actual intersection of Route 3 and Wire Road. And on the east side, there are no sidewalks, pedestrian facilities. However, there is one crossing at the Merrimack Youth Association, but there's no light facilities on each side, so it's really not a very safe crossing for people trying to get to the park. So I think with that, I'm going to go on to some of the design elements to address some of these issues that we discussed. So currently, we are looking at a few different options to help improve the safety along this corridor, including realignment of Wire Road itself to more of a formal T intersection, more perpendicular with Route 3 instead of at a kind of like a Y angle that it is now. We are going to look at northbound turn evaluations on the Wire Road and whether that needs to be signalized or not signalized. For access management, we are looking at potentially relocating the Merrimack Youth Association driveway to more of a 4-leg intersection at that intersection. And we would like to add additional pedestrian accommodations from Baboosic Lake all the way through the intersection to through the bridge project and up to Twin Bridge Road. And additionally, too, as part of the access management, we will be looking at southbound left turns onto the Merrimack Youth Association driveway in order the need for an additional left turn lane. Additionally, too, besides looking at traffic signals, we will also look at coordinating traffic signals between CVS, Baboosic Lake, and Front Street, and the potential signal location here at Wire Road. One option we are also looking at too is a roundabout option, potentially a double lane roundabout. But all this put together, we'll come to through our engineering study in order to produce the best alternative for the town. And I think I'll turn it over to Jim for some talk on cultural resources and historical.
Right. Thank you, Chris. The Baboosic Lake intersection and proceeding northbound is in the Sauhegan Historical District. That is a area form that was prepared a number of years ago. We've gone back to that same consultant to get, prepare an update for that form. As part of the environment and what we call the environmental, that is both cultural and natural resources process for DOT managed or funded projects, we have to look at the impacts to cultural resources, historical elements. As we all know, there's a number of historical buildings in that quarter. So we are scheduling some meetings with DOT to talk about if any concerns that they and DHR, which is the Division of Historical Resources, may have relative to the Sauhegan Historical District, and whether we have to do any additional surveys. Natural resource agencies come into play. There are no wetlands for the corridor. It's basically, we're going to stay within the area. But once you get up into the MYA facility, there are trees that are within the Shoreland Water Quality Protection Act reference lines, i.e. 250 feet from the river. So any tree cutting involves permitting through those agencies. There's also the potential of alteration of terrain. So there's a number of aspects of permitting that get focused into this. Also, since it's federally funded, we have to go through what was called the National Environmental Protection Act policy, where we do a tremendous outreach to all state, federal, and local agencies as to concerns about the project, other entities that might have impacts or thought process to the project, to put together a NEPA document for this to say that we've evaluated everything has come through, and it is deemed an acceptable project. And in short, that's what we're shooting for. Utilities, as we know, most urban corridors, we have the aerial utilities, we have gas, we have water, and we have sewer in the roadway. As Chris has noted, this is mostly safety improvements. But the one issue that comes up is aerial utilities. They're on the west side of the roadway, the corridor, so to speak, until they get almost to Wire Road. Then they cross over Wire Road and cross over at Wire Road to the east side of Route 3 and go through the bridge project. As part of the bridge project, we've been working with them on aerial utilities. This gives us a better opportunity now to come up with a more streamlined approach to handling aerial utilities that have to get realigned or relocated for construction, or for construction purposes, either permanent or temporary. So we'll be dealing with that. As Chris is noted, we're going to be working on sidewalks. So we're going to be looking at temporary and diversions for traffic and pedestrian. As the work is ongoing, there'll be work zones. Pedestrians will have to be accommodated as we go forward. So that's how quantum comes into play with a lot of this. We're going to be handling a lot of the permitting process on that. The next slide is, I backed up, my apologies, is what we're going to do with the engineering study goals. Basically, we're going to create a purpose and need. Chris is going to come up with that. This is going to be a joint production by the companies. We're going to come up with a purpose and need. What is the purpose of this? Why is it needed? We're going to look at all the alternatives that Chris just laid out. We're going to come up with some cost estimates for it all. Essentially, we're going to work with the town, the town agencies, working through the DPW to come up with an identification of a preferred alternative. Now, what qualifies a preferred alternative? One is cost. The other one is the least environmental damaging approach or alternative. So it is a combination of both. It's fiscal and environmental. And then at that point, as Chris and Kyle have said, we'll be doing a public presentation. Between the two projects with Route 3 and this, It is something we're going to coordinate on the utilities, roadway alignments, because when the preferred alternative comes out of this study, we have to look at what we have to may do to the bridge for their southbound approach and northbound approach going to the bridge, southbound leaving the bridge, how it mates into this for any road widening. So there's some interaction in there. So at this point, I guess we've kind of summarized up where we're going, what we're doing for everybody out there. Kyle, and we turn it out to the public now.
Thank you, Jim. So yeah, at this point, what we hope to receive is some public comments or feedback or anything that we need to know about the corridor and the intersection that we may not know that can help shape the project. So if anyone would like to come to the microphone and speak, we'd be happy to enter it into the public record. If there's anyone here who doesn't want to speak, or for those watching at home, Quantum does have a comment sheet here that you could take with you and submit comments later. We'll put that comment sheet up on our website in the morning so that folks could grab it off of there and submit comments in the next week or two to help shape the project. Yes, please. It's a great time.
Thank you, Kyle. Is this mic on?
It
Yeah.
is.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. My name is Nelson Disco, and I'm chairman of the Town Center Committee. The Town Center Committee was established about 2012 to look into implementing a study that was originally done by the National Regional Planning Commission to make the town center of Merrimack a more walkable, friendly place where people would want to go and be able to get from one institution in that area to another without using their cars. And that means walkable for the most part, bikes included. The Town Center Committee has worked since then to make things like this happen. This is just one piece of the Merrimack Town Center, but it's a very important piece. The actual realignment of Wire Road into Route 3 was not considered in part of that original study by the NRPC. But as we got closer to it, we realized that that was an important intersection for safety purposes primarily. And the problem of getting pedestrians through there, to be able to get a pedestrian from the Front Street area to Town Hall, or from the post office to the library, for instance, it has to intersect with this intersection. And so it's a very important intersection for the town of Merrimack. I personally, and I think our committee is personally pleased to find that this project is being combined with the bridge over Route 3, over the Baboosic Brook, because that it all ties together, and we've got to consider both of those projects insofar as getting pedestrians, as I said, from the post office to Town Hall. So we're very pleased to see that the town is going ahead and the state is going ahead with this. And we hope that it will come to fruition in a reasonable amount of time. We've been working on it for a long time. And there are some impediments which you may already have recognized. The intersection with Church Street, I don't know how that's going to be handled, but that's a difficult one. The committee's recommendation to the town council has been to discontinue that little leg of Church Street that comes into Route 3 to cut that off and make a sidewalk that goes from the library all the way across this new intersection with Wire Road and then on up to the post office. So those are concerns that we have. The concerns that we have include the access to Twin Bridge Park. That's a very important event creating park. It's almost every night in the summer there's a ball game there, and there's kids use that playground a lot. There's a kids playground in there, and it gets a lot of use. And having the parking there is very convenient and good, and be able to walk from there to the post office would be a real advantage to the citizens of Merrimack. So I'm here to encourage you to continue this and to bring to your attention some of the small concerns that we have. One, it occurs to me as we talk about this, is that the Turnpike Authority, Turnpike Division of DOT, has plans to replace the bridge across the Turnpike, which is on Wire Road. And that has got to tie into this new project. The new McGaw Bridge Road Bridge was was replaced a couple years ago, and it's got to tie into this as well. So we've got to look at those intersections from a pedestrian point of view. I'm emphasizing pedestrian safety at this point, and being able to walk from the park to the library to the post office and take into account those people who are out there on just two legs working against the traffic. And sometimes it's pretty much. So I don't think I have anything else to add to that. Kyle is on the town center committee with me, and so he knows some of our concerns. And did I omit anything, Kyle? Or if not, I'll sit down.
I think you hit everything.
Okay.
That was great. Thank you,
Okay.
Nelson.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, and that'll get in the record, I hope. Thank you.
Anyone else who cares to speak? As we wait for people to come up, I will say that I did meet with one abutter last week who contacted me after seeing the advertisement for the project, or for tonight's meeting, and he wasn't sure he'd be able to make it. He owns the parcel opposite Baboosic Lake Road that has the car dealership and the house to the north of the dealership, and he left me with some pictures that I'll turn over to you guys. His primary concern was he wanted to see increased pedestrian safety, but he was concerned about any curb cuts on the east side of the road that would impede either the business or his property. The house is a multi-unit house and has a fairly wide driveway. So those were his concerns. So I wanted to get those into the record. Seeing no one else, I will close the concerns meeting. And certainly if anyone has any questions, feel free to email or call us at Public Works. Dawn or I would be happy to take your calls. Our phone number is 603-424-5137. Or feel free to reach out to the town manager, your town councilor, or any other town person you know that can get word back to us. Thank you.